Hello and welcome to the Confidence Corner. We had a bit of a glitch last week when I was in Minnesota. So it turns out that we're doing this over again because number one, negotiation is so fun. At least I certainly love it. It's all about building relationships, but it's such a valuable piece that we need to talk about, thing that we need to talk about. So I didn't want that episode to get lost. So unfortunately, the audio didn't record. Anyway, now I am coming to you live from my home, now in Oakland, California. And we are here today to talk about the confidence. No, this is the Confidence Corner. We are here today to talk about the negotiation equation. Let's focus on what that actually is. And it's telling me to hang on. So I'm going to wait for a minute. So we'll just hang on, talk about confidence, and then, well, you know what I just realized is that, normally we edit these things right up front, but let's jump in. Thank you for bearing with me and all the preamble. This is usually when people's attention spans go way down and people don't continue listening. Anyway, so let's get to the meat of this because the Confidence Corner is all about helping you with tips for building your confidence, obviously, but through communication skills. And that is my expertise. It's all about cultivating confidence and those communication skills that are so important. So the negotiation equation is what our focus is today. So if you multiply confidence times clarity times connection, that is what's going to help you have the best recipe for success when you're negotiating. Hi, Andrea. Thanks for joining. We're talking about the negotiation equation, and the first step of it all is confidence. You have to go into the meeting, the deal, whatever it is, with a strong sense of ownership about who you are and the value that you bring to the table. If you don't have that, it's going to be pretty challenging to be able to show up and speak with confidence. And it is so important to be able to speak with confidence, have the tools for that. So part of confidence, there's multiple elements. So clearly this equation, simply put, is confidence, clarity, and connection. But there are multiple elements inside each of these, and it's going to mean different things for different people. Some people have no problem with what they're saying, so clarity comes easy. Some people with the confidence piece, they're not quite as confident. They don't own what they're doing, or they don't feel that they're offering as much value as they truly are. So we've got to start with the thing that most is, first of all, our strength, and recognize that. And then look at what are the ways or the things that we need to do to shift. So going back to specifically talking about confidence, walking into that room and making sure that you show up as if you own it. Now, before you even walk into that room or that Zoom call or whatever it is, you need to be clear about the value that you provide. What is it that you do well? What are your weaknesses? I find that the older that I get, the more ownership I take, and here's what I do well, here's what I don't do well. And I'm okay with that. That's where you get other people to support you. But think about, what is it that you bring to the table? And the other thing is to prep in advance, know what you want to say, know what specifically it is that you do well. I know I've said that already, but I'll say it again. Getting the prep down will help you to feel more confident going into that room. And then when you actually do walk in that room, making sure that you speak with strength in your voice. You speak with some vocal variety, so it sounds interesting. And you project your voice so you're not sounding like a little mouse. You want to make sure that your voice projects. How do you know all of these things are working for you or against you? You start by, in your prep, recording yourself. Record yourself to see how you come across. And ideally on video, but if that takes too much brain power or you're too nervous to do that, record it on audio only. At least hear how your voice sounds. The more that you're going to hear how you sound, how you come across, that's going to automatically give you more confidence because you're going to know what's working for you or what's not working for you. And it might be only a neutral experience too. It might not be, oh, this is working for you or against you. But my thought is, Why not all of us stand out and be memorable? So that is my goal for everybody. Related to that confidence piece is, again, they're all connected. So let's talk about clarity. This is being really clear in what you're asking and as well how you're asking it. So for example, you don't want to bury the lead of your story. If you're asking for a raise, you don't want that to be at the end of the conversation as an afterthought. This in part goes back to that confidence piece. Do you walk in with ownership of this is what I want, this is how I'm going to ask for it, and that in and of itself will make a huge difference for how you show up. So the other thing about the clarity component is be careful about wavering. Too often we end up wavering if, for example, the other person might be a better negotiator or simply might bring up something that you hadn't thought of before. And then it could be easier to backpedal or waver in your ask, but making sure that you're direct in your ask will help you tremendously. And there's a term called BLUF from the US military, and it stands for bottom line up front. Having that up front will also help a lot so that your ask is clear. The other thing that you want to do is make sure that your ask is direct. Too often what ends up happening is we make asks like, if you're interested, let me know. If you want to sign up, let me know. And you're putting it in their shoes. So you don't want to do that. And by the way, that is passive. So you want to make sure that you're asking directly, such as, would you like to buy more? Would you like to consider this? Or if you're asking for a promotion, maybe it's, how does this sound to move us forward? What would be the next steps? So I want to tell you a story about how I wasted 8 months of my life by not making a direct ask. I was working for a company and I was asked to be on the leadership team. And I was super excited about this, going, this is amazing. Well, I asked first of all, wrong timing, pulled my boss out. We were just finishing up a meeting. She's working on something. And I said, so everybody else on the team is a director or above. What does that mean for me? Totally passive. And she said, oh yeah, we'll have to figure all that out. Well, then a few months later, I'm on the leadership team and nothing was brought up about a promotion from my boss in advance. And I'm thinking, okay, I wonder what's going on here. But I didn't say anything. I just decided to keep doing my work and keep contributing. Then I brought it up to the COO and he didn't give me a very direct answer either. So I was quite unsatisfied with that. He said, oh, there's a lot of things to consider with title. And I wish I had said, what is it that I need to do? This is what I want. How can you help me to get there? But I didn't. And then 8 months later, I'm sitting at my review and I asked her, well, at the end, she didn't give me a promotion and she could tell that something was off. So she actually asked me, hey, something's off. What's going on? And I said, well, I thought I was getting a promotion. And she said, what? She didn't even remember that conversation. And we both laughed about it, although I was pretty upset, but we chuckled. I had a very important lesson learned. And I said, okay, here's what I would have done differently. This is what I want. This is my goal. How long do you think it'll take? Can we get there in 6 months? Can we set up milestones? What do we need to do? I would have been much more proactive and much more direct in my ask. And too often we don't do this. We leave it up to the other party, almost as if we need permission or we're looking for them to take care of us somehow. And we have to remember, for better or worse, I have been in HR roles where I have laid off more people than I can almost count. And the thing is, that happens. It's business. So nobody is going to care as much about us as we care about ourselves. So you have to be your own best advocate. So go in with that clarity and make a direct ask. The third component of this is connection. We have to be likable. People do business with who they like. It's a fact. There's tons of research on it. And there is a simple way that you can be likable, and that's simply to smile. Have a friendly disposition, and it starts with your facial expression. You've heard of RBF, most likely, that resting bee face, where a resting face might look like we're mad, or unapproachable. And maybe we don't even realize that this is happening. So this is why we need to make sure that we record ourselves and we see how we come across. But notice that we come across often in a way that doesn't match how we feel inside. And so we've got to be proactively aware of our facial expressions. And there's a number of things that happened with me in this case, but I'll tell you one story that was very memorable for me. I was in my very first corporate training role, practiced really diligently to get the content right. Show up in front of my then boss, and she said, okay, you ready to go? And I was really prepared. I was very excited. I started the delivery. I'm thinking, I'm nailing this. And afterwards, she asked me, well, how do you think you did? And I said, I thought I did quite well. And she said, well, Karen, if I really listen, your content is practically perfect. But you looked pissed off the whole time. And I thought, what? What do you mean I look pissed off my whole time? That is not what my intent was. That is not the impact that I wanted to make. And that is when I started saying the phrase that I'm proud to say that I made up. Hopefully it's not anywhere else in the world, but you never know. But I feel like I made it up. And that is, we cannot sacrifice connection for perfection. It's so easy to get hyper-focused on what you're saying, especially if you're nervous or you're not sure if you're going to make sure that you remember everything you wanted to share. It's so easy to get more serious in our expression, and then that reflects as if we're unapproachable and unfriendly. And thank you, Andrea. Yes, being aware of it also keeps your forehead furrow lines at bay. Yes. It's so true. And again, I've seen this in all genders. I know a lot of people say, well, I know women get more criticized for it. I haven't experienced that personally, but I have definitely experienced any human being who is focused on their content or nervous about what they're talking about can come across with that furrowed brow and look really, really serious. Joanna, the confidence queen is here. Hello, and welcome. We're talking about the negotiation equation. So related to this third component, connection, remembering to smile. And one of the pieces of advice that I got years ago that I love is to be interested as opposed to interesting. Not that you want to be interesting, obviously, but what we focus on oftentimes is, I have to be more interesting. I have to be more interesting. If we walk into a networking event, for example, or we walk into a meeting with people that we haven't met and we show interest in them, that's going to make us more likable. And again, the reminder that we are doing business with people that we know, like, and trust. And that is what it's all about. So important to make sure that we are focusing on this connection piece, because negotiation isn't about a win-win situation. So many people look at it that way. Negotiation is about relationships. And why not have it be a win-win for everybody? So when you have these three elements, you have confidence, clarity, and connection. That is the negotiation equation. You put all those things together and that will make such a difference. And thank you again, Andrea, for my anecdotes. I appreciate that. And I'm grateful for your feedback. I'm very passionate about helping women have practical tools to know how to communicate with confidence. And there are simple things that we can all do that make a massive difference, because things like voice, making sure that you sound like you know what you're talking about, speaking with projection, speaking with vocal conviction, so that we don't sound like we're doing that upspeak thing where we just make a statement like a question. It doesn't sound like I'm credible at all. We have to have competence, and that is directly tied to our voice and our credibility. And in fact, later this month, we're going to be talking about how to get rid of filler words. So for any of you folks that want to get rid of some of those filler words like so, please definitely tune into that. And that is the Confidence Corner for this week. Thank you very much for tuning in, and keep remembering to be your confident self, and remember those three components of the negotiation equation: confidence, clarity, and connection. All the best to you. And if you want more tips on negotiation, how to ask for what you want, feel free to show up here every week. We have tips related to communication and confidence. I also cover this on my podcast called Ignite Your Confidence with Karen Laus. And I wrote a book called Trust Your Own Voice. And this is all about a guidebook for women to grow their influence through confident communication. Have a great night, everybody.